everything to death. But by so doing, they always seem to be in the know. They know everything. They know everything's going on. And then persuaders. Persuaders are those who always seem to be able to take an idea and carry it through to completion. They convince you that the idea that's being presented is one that is worthwhile, one that you want to make successful. They're the storytellers. They kind of give the idea sizzle, and they make it. Now, as I analyzed this, what I thought is this is clearly what we do in cities, right? When I look at the persuaders, like most of you who are elected in this room, it's what you do. It's what you're good at. You naturally fall into being a persuader. The mavens are your city staff. They're the analytical. They're the data-driven folks. They're the system folks. They make things happen by presenting you with good information. But what we were missing in the city of Maricopa were the connectors. We were missing that third link in the cycle, the chain that is its weakest link. Okay? We needed to fix that in order to change it and make things better for us. So what I got to thinking was we needed to arm those folks that were getting out of the car and that were talking to people. We needed to arm them with the information that they were so desperately looking for. They were begging for it. They wanted it. So what if we could take those people and bring them into the fold? What if we could tap their networks? What if we could find out that the people that they know, the businesses with whom they do business with, if we could take them and utilize those networks for ourselves? But at the same time, we could make them successful in their own right because we would be satisfying what they were so desperately asking for, the want and the desire to be in the know. This gives us a whole range of potential economic development possibilities that me and my limited economic development team could not do on our own. I fundamentally believe that each of you in this room know people that I simply don't know. You have networks that I don't know. You do business with people that I don't know. Now, some of us may overlap in some fashion, but I believe that together we could accomplish more than if we tried to do it separately. The goal here was to bring these folks in, make them part of the team without putting them on the payroll. If we could do that, we would achieve success. Furthermore, I believe that we would be able to utilize them to teach them ways in which they could bring stuff to us. How many times do your economic development folks go out there and do their best to try and bring in business, but in the end get stymied by this, that, or the other? Okay? If you can find ways to get through to the people you need to, and maybe that's through a friend or a network or some sort of acquaintance and introduction, then maybe you could do something better, bigger, grander. And so that's what we did. So, as I told you earlier, I believe that getting on the map is important and it can be awfully difficult. So I decided to create my own map. And what I did is I created the Maricopa Advocate Program. I believe that if we can take these connectors and we can put them together and we can tutor them and we can give them direct access to our economic development team, give them direct access to our elected leaders, our staff, then we can answer their questions. We could tell them what's happening. We could give them the tools that they were begging for anyways, and we could make them part of our team. Since the year we rolled this out, we have over 65 MAP or advocates in the city of Maricopa now. 65 volunteers of their own accord in the first year. I hope to double that in this next. The idea that by arming them and giving them the correct information helps debunk the philosophy or theory that the city is inferior to its neighbors based on the fact that it has challenges. We know that we can overcome these challenges. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes guidance, but it takes people in the know. And if you're not, or they're not, then the wildfire spreads, and what we know when the wildfire spreads is that bad news goes rampant. And with social media today, it just gets worse. We wanted to stop that. Let me give you 3 short stories. First, I'll give you a story about an event that happened pre-MAP, okay? So pre our Maricopa Advocate Program, I had a gal that when I was running for my first election that I wanted for her to be my campaign manager. And I sat down with her, and in the course of discussion, she asked me a question that I'll never forget. What she said was, why do I want to help you run for mayor when everybody I know is leaving Maricopa? Oh, what a sad state of affairs. day. And more importantly, what I realized was that if we wanted to change the perception of the way the outside sees us, then we had to change who we were inside. We had to change who we were internally. And we had to believe in ourselves. We had to make that happen. So let me tell you 2 stories post-MAP. The first one was a seminar. As our MAP individuals all know, they go to meetings, they go to seminars, they earn this pen. You see me wearing it here today. They earn this pen, and it shows their proficiency in city knowledge. And they're acknowledged, they're given accolades, and they're also given responsibilities that they wouldn't have outside of that. The first thing was, one of these seminars, we had a big group to come in and talk about the economy. And in the course of that, we had an engineering firm, or an engineering school come from the University of Arizona. And in the course of conversation with our MAP people, as well as city staff and myself, we decided that we would create something that had never been done in the city of Maricopa before. And that was, we would basically partner with the University of Arizona and create the very first engineering program in the city. So in 11 years of existence, some cities go forever. We've done it in 11 years where we've brought the first segment of higher education to the city of Maricopa to help fill that gap of engineers that will happen in the future. That helps economic development. The other thing that we did, that's one of my favorite things, is you ask me, well, what did the citizens learn? Let me tell you what the citizens are learning. One of my very top advocates was standing in a line in the grocery store. And as he stood there, he heard 2 ladies standing in front of him saying, hey, can you, one of them was a business owner, and they were talking between themselves, and he was standing behind them trying not to listen, but he overheard the conversation, and one says, hey, I'm looking at bringing a business here, but I've heard a few things about Maricopa. About 3 things. I've heard there's a high crime rate, I've heard that there's a lengthy permitting process, and I've also heard that there are some real challenges to overcome when it comes to not the water. That wasn't growing, that wasn't growing. And so as such, he just couldn't take it anymore. And so finally he said, hey, I'm sorry, I don't mean to butt in, I didn't mean to overhear your conversation, but at the end of the day, look, I'm a Maricopa advocate, I know some of the things you're talking about. If I may, can you give me just a few seconds and I'll tell you that these things aren't true? And so what he went through is he systematically debunked the process. And he said, okay, it is a growing community, we're the fastest growing community. The permitting process is no different or more difficult than any other city. We have rewritten our zoning code, and we have a 24/7 permitting process coming online. And finally, he said, our crime rate, that stat is completely false. We're the 5th safest city in the state. And so I ask you, how many of your citizens could do that in a grocery line and give those types of facts? Well, what we have found, folks, is that it has taken us to another level. That all of those bad things I used to tell you about, where you would see and hear the blogs where it was so negative, it's changed. People come out of their shells, they want to know what's going on, they become centers of influence. This is completely duplicative in each of your cities, and you can do it if you desire to. Now, I love being an underdog city. I love when people think that because we're small, we can't make a difference. To that I say, that's false. We can. And I think Shakespeare said it best when he said, though she be